morning, everybody. Welcome to the second day of the 14th refresher course in political science. Today, we have an alumni of University of Allahabad and my student, one of my earliest students, Professor Sanjay Srivastav. Professor Sanjay Srivastav is a professor of political science in Banaras Hindu University. He has had around 12 years of experience as a professor and more than 30 years of experience in research and teaching. He has visited many national and international universities. He is also, as far as I remember, he has visited America. He has visited more than 5 or 6 international universities. He has published in many journals. I think I should read out his biodata. He was a Fulbright visiting professor in Washington, D.C. in 2016-17. He has been a member of the Executive Council in Jamia Millia. He has been in various committees associated with the UGC, and he is also a prolific writer and a person who has published in several national and international journals. Today, he has chosen to speak on the Gandhian method of conflict resolution, but I know his area of specialization, as far as I remember, is international relations, and I have heard a number of his lectures on the same subject. So therefore, he is choosing a subject which has joined both his interest in international relations and his interest in political theory. So he's going to talk of a Gandhian alternative to conflict resolution. Thank you, sir. Sanjay, over to you.
Thank you, madam. First of all, my sincere thanks to my teacher, Professor Anuradha Agrawalji, who taught me in masters. And I owe a lot to you, madam. And I think whatever I could do in my career, much credit goes to you and the Department of Political Science at University of Allahabad. I have chosen the topic Gandhian Satyagraha, and looking Gandhian Satyagraha from a... I would request all of you to kindly mute your mics because it is disturbing. Because background noise is coming, so अगर आप म्यूट कर देंगे.
नहीं, आप लोग सब मेहरबानी से माइक जरूर म्यूट रखिएगा क्योंकि बीच-बीच में आवाजें आती हैं जो अच्छा नहीं लगता है, स्पीकर को डिस्टर्ब करता है. ठीक है, माइक म्यूट रखिएगा.
So it is looking Gandhian Satyagraha from the perspective of conflict resolution and peace. You know, when Gandhi was launching a series of Satyagraha movements in India, starting from Champaran in Bihar, the conflict resolution perspective was not there. The conflict resolution and peace studies came into vogue mostly during 1960s in America and Europe in wake of the American entanglement in the Vietnamese War, and many American soldiers killed there. So there was always a question before the political scientists and the social scientists largely, that how to avoid the war, how to have a sustainable peace, a positive peace which is more sustainable. So scholars have started looking at Gandhi, that what Gandhi did and how he was able to fight a war, wage a war without swords or without any weapon against the British. He launched several movements against the British, and he was able to free India out of colonial clutches. So what were the methods Gandhi used, how his conflict progressed, and what kind of conflict he was visualizing in the Indian society, and how truth and the non-violence were essential to his satyagraha. All these things were looked from the lens or the prism of conflict resolution and peace. So this paper is, this presentation is mostly about that that how do we look satyagraha from the perspective of conflict resolution and peace. We have been studying satyagraha since our secondary level schooling in most of the schools and colleges in India. Until now we are studying satyagraha. So what actually, Gandhi saw, for Gandhi, the conflict was not cyclical. Cyclical is the conflict where there is a mutual enforcement of the conflict. Suppose there are two parties, A and B. So A will hit at B and B will, react and take a measure and hit the A. Now, this will lead to a cycle of the mutual reinforcement, both the parties hitting at each other, both the parties attacking each other. And this will spiral up the conflict, and conflict will never go away. But for Gandhi, conflict progression was not cyclical, rather it was dialectical in nature. And Gandhi always held that both the parties, both his Indian nationalist and the British, had certain elements of truth in their stance, in their ideas. And Gandhi, through his conflict, wanted to reach to the higher level of truth. And this higher level of truth can be achieved by the synthesis of the truths of both the parties or many parties involved in the conflict. So for Gandhi, the conflict was dialectical in nature, and Gandhi, through the dialectical conflict, wanted to reach to the higher level of truth, synthesis of the truth of both parties, and reach to the higher level of truth. So according to Gandhi, in the conflict, both parties get something. They achieve it. No one is a loser. Both achieve, and both achieve to the higher level of truth. So for one thing is very clear, that Gandhi did not mean a cyclical conflict. Rather, his conflict was dialectical in nature, and that through the synthesis of the truths, a higher level of truth will be achieved, and both parties will be in the advantageous position. Now, for Gandhi, his freedom struggle was, when he was launching a series of satyagraha movements, he was calling into question the philosophical basis of the colonialism. That colonialism, he was challenging those philosophical basis, that colonialism is basically is based on something which is unjust, and the people living in the countries like India are facing this justice at the hand of the British, who are mightier, not in sense of ideas, but in sense of swords and the weapons and that kind of regimentation. And Gandhi was also of the view that it's not, his satyagrahas were not only against the British. He was also calling into question the Varna Vyavastha, the caste system in India, and how the lower caste people have been oppressed in India, the issues of the minority, issues of the classes. All such things were part of his satyagraha. His satyagraha was not, only against the British government. The anomalies facing the Indian society was facing at that point of time was also, questioned by Gandhi, and he wanted to resolve those conflicts, maybe sometime in a piecemeal manner, or maybe sometime by launching a grand, movement. Now, the purpose of this paper is to find out that what strategies Gandhi evolved, Gandhi used, and Gandhi tried in these, series of satyagraha movements, and what were the reasons that these movements could, achieve the success, and how Gandhian satyagraha was different from the earlier satyagraha, or the later satyagraha, which were there, came into vogue after Gandhi. So the Satyagraha movements launched by neo-Gandhians. Okay, and then how Gandhi was able to control the mass movements. You would have seen these days that mostly, whenever the large scale movements are launched in India, in a democratic country like India, often they go out of control. So how Gandhi was able to control those, mass movements, those satyagraha, because, it is always said, I mean, you would have also read that Gandhi had the tremendous capacity to propel the mass movements, and as well as he was in a position to control those mass movements. So what were those strategies Gandhi launched to, or adopted to control those movements? And for Gandhi, movement did not go out of his hand, or out of the hand of the Congress party, which was to which Gandhi belonged. Now Gandhi adopted, the first strategy was, Gandhi went for a self-limiting conflict. Self-limiting conflict, or the conflict which is also known as the self-encapsulation. Self-encapsulation conflict. The self-limiting conflict means that Satyagrahi will have to limit himself. Satyagrahi will have to encapsulate himself under the garb of, under the capsule of non-violence. There is another question that for Gandhi, non-violence was teleologically correct or ontologically correct. So we will discuss it further on as this lecture progresses. So, in the series of early movements like Champaran, Ahmedabad Mill Strike, Kheda Satyagraha, Gandhi launched, this self-limiting conflict strategy, and he adopted the stepwise diagnostic strategy. Stepwise diagnostic strategy. And this stepwise diagnostic strategy was, diagnostic strategy was that, I mean, there were, certain steps which were well designed, well conceived, and also well articulated to the British government. Gandhi was a very good articulator. We'll come to this, in the later part of the lecture when we discuss this, how Gandhi was able to control the mass movement. So the first was, first stepwise strategy was that on-site accumulation and analysis of the fact. Gandhi will go to the site and he will make the on-site assessment of the facts, and that too with the opponent's participation. Just a minute. Hello. हाँ मैं एक लेक्चर में. So on-site accumulation of the facts and analysis of the facts with the participation of the opponent, because Gandhi always, wanted to see the scenario, to see the picture, or see the reality of the conflict from the lens of the opponent. He did not want a one-sided interpretation of the conflict. So he always wanted the opponent also to participate in this analysis, collection of the fact, so that he can also understand that what the opponent, his perspective is. Second step was identification of the interest in common with the opponents. That what are the interests that is in common with the opponents, and formulation of the limited third step was formulation of the limited action goal acceptable to all parties. So wherever there was a commonality of the interests were common, Gandhi will adopt a short term action plan to at least work on those common areas where there is convergence of ideas between him and the opponent. Okay. And Gandhi will always search for a compromise. But this compromise, Gandhi will never cede the essentials. And what were essentials to Gandhi? The essentials to Gandhi were truth and non-violence. Because these were the cardinal virtues Gandhi would always agree or always profess, that he cannot compromise. He can make compromises, but he cannot make compromises on the essentials like truth and non-violence, ahimsa. So now, at this stage, Gandhi will not launch a movement, but will try to give a chance to the opponent if he can, correct himself by giving him the truth or by giving him his views, his interpretation of the situation. Gandhi will give an opportunity to the opponent that if he can, mend his ways and the situation can be improved. And if this is not resolved at this stage, first 4 steps, if the conflict is not resolved, then Gandhi would resort to the direct action. And direct action would include agitation, ultimatum, boycott, strike, non-cooperation, civil disobedience, and such kind of things with which you are already familiar with. And after every this is the direct action is the second stage. So after every stage, there will be a small period of withdrawal, where Gandhi will assess that how his strategy has worked and how opponent has reacted to his strategy, and whether the strategy has been able to yield any result or not. Okay. And this is a built-in kind of withdrawal, and which is always there with Gandhi. You see that there is a struggle, trust struggle. There was a non-cooperation movement, then a gap of nearly 7-8 years, and the civil disobedience, and then you get the big movement like the Quit India movement. Okay. So this is the first thing, that Gandhi was having this stepwise strategy to and especially in the initial movements like this Kheda Ahmedabad mill strike and Champaran Satyagraha. And Gandhi was able to give an identity. The Satyagraha had the identity feature also associated with it, that it was giving an identity to the people of India, the Satyagrahis, that Satyagrahis now were fighting under this banner of Satyagraha against the mightiest enemy on the earth at that point of time. British were regarded as the mightiest in the world, the balancer when we talk about international relations. Okay. So, and truth and non-violence were essential to Gandhi. Especially we come across a case in Ahmedabad mill strike, where the mill owners were the upper caste Hindus and the mill workers were the lower caste Hindus. And Gandhi was blamed that he is dividing, that area on the caste lines. So Gandhi said that, come whatever may, but I will not, stop the Satyagraha, and I will not, whatever, the truth will finally prevail. And finally, Gandhi was able to persuade, the mill owners of Ahmedabad, and the conflict was resolved. And another thing that is associated with this Ahmedabad was mill strike was that there is someone is writing something. The second, just a minute. The second step again. Okay. The second step, the first step is the accumulation of the facts with the enemy, the analysis of the fact with the enemy, so that Gandhi can understand his position. And the second is to look into the common grounds. What are the common grounds, with the opponents where they are common, so that a minimum program can be launched, to cooperate with the opponent. So associated, coming back to where I left, this Ahmedabad mill strike also had a important feature, that how Gandhi was able to uh, break the stalemate, arrive at a solution, resolve the conflict through his personal relations with the mill owners of Ahmedabad cotton mills. So this was something that Gandhi was always in favor of, not destroying the personal relations with the enemy. Gandhi never believed in the um, ad persona conflict or the personal conflict. Personal conflict is when we make personal allegations against each other. So if the ad persona conflict comes, it is very difficult to resolve. But because if one's ego is, hurt, it is very difficult to get out of that conflict. So Gandhi was always against, that, and he had very good relations with the mill owners, and by convincing them, he was able to resolve the conflict. And you always, you remember. पाप से घृणा करो पापी से नहीं. So Gandhi was not in any time in favor of ad persona conflict or the personal conflict. The second, larger strategy for Gandhi, which there is a cusp between Gandhi and the non-Gandhian, neo-Gandhians, is that uh, भाई सरिता जी लिख रही हैं कि हिंदी में भी बोलूं मैं, लेकिन एक बार अगर हिंदी में बोलना शुरू कर देंगे तो इस वेरी
दोनों लैंग्वेज में.
अच्छा, मैं ट्राई करता हूँ. एक्चुअली वो जब उसका ब्रेक हो जाता है ना,
हिंदी भाषी प्रदेश के भी काफी लोग हैं,
रिदम ब्रेक हो जाता है. तो जो दूसरा है, जो सेकंड लार्जर स्ट्रेटजी है, वो है आइडियोलॉजिकल सेल्फ लिमिटेशन. Self-limitation means that during the conflict, the satyagrahi will limit himself. Satyagrahi will not resolve, satyagrahi will not resort to, sort of violent means. वो हिंसक नहीं होगा, ठीक है. And this commitment to non-violence. Aparna Singh, please mute your mic. Dr. Aparna Singh, please mute your mic.
Sorry, sir, it was my mistake.
It's okay. So the ideological self-limitation means that Satyagrahi will never practice violence. And this commitment to non-violence will be at the level of ideology. Okay. The commitment is at the level of ideology. Ideological commitment means that it is not occasional, but it is always. It's not that when Satyagrahi is fighting with the British, he resorts to non-violence, and when he comes back, he quarrels in the family or quarrels with his neighbor. This is not the ideological commitment. Ideological commitment means that always, every time, everywhere, Satyagrahi will limit himself, and he will never resort to violence, violence of words, violence of deeds, and violence of emotions. है ना? मनसा वचना कर्म, तीनों से नॉन वायलेंस को फॉलो करेगा सत्याग्रही, ठीक है. So, and for Gandhi, becoming a satyagraha was a difficult thing. is not like, for example, Anna Hazare was launching this anti-corruption movement in Delhi, and people were present there and taking pledge against corruption. And when they were traveling back to their homes, they were bribing the TTE to get a berth in a train. So this is not ideological commitment. That on the site of agitation, you are accepting that you will not involve yourself in the corrupt practices, but once you leave that site, you start involving yourself in the wrong things. So this is not the ideological this, commitment. So for Gandhi, Satyagrahi will have to be non-violent always at the level of ideology. And for Gandhi, becoming Satyagrahi was a very, very difficult thing. And Gandhi's Satyagrahi was not prepared overnight. गांधी के सत्याग्रही कभी एक दिन में तैयार नहीं होते थे. Gandhi had a series of training sessions for the satyagrahis. Gandhi had a series of training sessions for the satyagrahis, where the satyagrahis will be socialized to the values of satyagraha, the truth and non-violence. So it was a very longer period of socialization to the values of satyagraha. Here Gandhi is different from the neo-Gandhians. Whose satyagrahi, the neo-Gandhian satyagrahi like Anna Hazare and Medha Patkar kind of people, their satyagrahi were satyagrahis on the site, but when they will leave the site, they will do the usual things. They were not a ideological satyagrahi. So one of the success of Gandhi's, satyagraha, aandolan, satyagraha movements was that he had a band of very committed satyagrahis who will face unspeakable brutalities at the hand of the British police, but they will not resort to violence. Okay. So this was the training program Gandhi was giving to his satyagrahis. So always remember that for Gandhi, the satyagrahis were not prepared overnight. There was a series of training programs for the satyagrahis. So the satyagrahis can, socialize themselves to the value of satyagraha, that is the non-violence and truth. Okay. So this is the difference between Gandhi and the neo-Gandhians when they were neo-Gandhians were launching the satyagraha. And Gandhi, himself gave, manifold, code of conduct for the satyagrahi. Satyagrahi ko kya karna chahiye. 18-fold एक उनका बहुत important code of conduct है सत्याग्रही को, कि सत्याग्रही को किस तरह से behave करना चाहिए, सत्याग्रही को क्या करना चाहिए, सत्याग्रही को क्या नहीं करना चाहिए, जब वो जेल में है तो उसको क्या करना चाहिए, जब वो जेल से बाहर है तो उसको क्या करना चाहिए. तो ये बहुत सारी चीजें. So with this self-limiting conflict, self-encapsulating conflict, Gandhi was able to prepare a band of satyagrahis those were spread all over the country. And this helped Gandhi to propel big satyagraha movements, and he was able to sustain those movements because of these trained satyagrahis, these trained and committed satyagrahis who had accepted the principles of satyagraha, the virtues of satyagraha, satya and ahimsa at the level of ideology. Okay. So this was the second thing, second strategy, which is often missing these days. Satyagraha, or these days andolans, or the movements. We see that the people who participate in these movements, they are not socialized to the values of Satyagraha. They are not committed. They are not committed ideologically to the cause of the movement. So Satyagrahi had altogether he was following a different kind of life. His life, his behavior, his disposition, his character, his traits, everything was changed because of the training Gandhi was giving to Satyagrahis. And this training, usually came from the senior Satyagrahis. Senior Satyagrahis would give training to the new Satyagrahis, and they will be trained to accept the virtues of Satyagraha, the cardinal principles of Satyagraha, that is truth and non-violence. And Gandhi was so committed to these two virtues of Satyagraha, truth and non-violence, that he called off the non-cooperation movement after the incident in Chauri Chaura near Gorakhpur, where a police station was burned by the Satyagrahis, saying that Satyagrahis have not learned the lesson of non-violence. Had they learned the lesson of non-violence, this incident wouldn't have occurred, because Gandhi was not going ever to accept the violence. So he called off the non-cooperation movement, saying that Satyagrahis have not learned the lesson of Satyagraha, and that is non-violence. So he was criticized by many leaders of the Congress, like Subhash Chandra Bose said that Gandhi had bungled the affairs when movement had spiked and emotions were high, people were committed to the movement. He withdrew the movement, or he called off the movement. So this was the ideological commitment Gandhi had towards virtues of Satyagraha, and he wanted his Satyagrahis to have that virtues of Satyagraha. Okay. For example, there are many things Gandhi told to his forest Satyagrahis, like harbored no anger, suffered no anger suffer the anger of the opponent, never retaliate to assault or to assaults or punishment, do not submit to the enemy, voluntarily submit to the arrest or confiscate your own property. Such kind of many things. There are 118 fold code of conduct for the Satyagrahi. Then again, things like non-stealing, brahmacharya, non-possession, control over the palate, fearlessness, equal respect to all religions, Swadeshi, freedom from untouchability. Such kind of code of conduct Gandhi gave to his Satyagrahis. Now, how Gandhi was able to control his Satyagraha movements. So when the scholars of conflict resolution and peace looked back at Gandhi, that how Gandhi was able to control the movements of Satyagraha, and the movement did not go out of his control or out of the control of the Congress party. What were those things Gandhi adopted? The first strategy was the communication. That Gandhi knew it very well, that often the disinformation distorts, or the distorted information, or the canard or rumors, they mislead the movement. अक्सर अफवाहों की वजह से या गलत सूचनाओं की वजह से जो आंदोलन है वो नियंत्रण से बाहर चला जाता है. Emotions go very high and people just try to take the law in their hands, and the violent practices or the practices which are not truthful are being, done. So Gandhi, as I told you, was a great communicator. He will not keep his ideas to himself only, and he was a prolific writer. He would write letters to the senior leaders of the senior satyagrahis. He would write letters to the British government, the district magistrate, and the other, higher authorities. He would, write letters to the office bearers of the Congress party. He had his own newspapers. He will speak on radio whenever it was possible. He will meet the journalist. And Gandhi will communicate that why he is conducting this satyagraha. What are the reasons for this satyagraha? And from where satyagraha will start, from where the satyagraha will start, and how the satyagraha will propel further. So all these things Gandhi will tell in the beginning of the movement, and he will communicate this even to the British government. There was nothing to hide. He will communicate his, strategy to the British government as well. And the best part of this strategy, where, Gandhi had tremendous credibility. People will believe Gandhi. The British will trust Gandhi that he will do what he is saying. Gandhi will never go back on his words. Gandhi will never deviate from his stand. Gandhi will never go back, on his words or deviate from his stand. So this was the credibility Gandhi was having. Satyagrahis also know that what he has said is final. He will not deviate or he will not take back things. Okay. So the communication to the Satyagrahis and the government was the first strategy Gandhi used to have. And I think the way Gandhi communicated during the freedom struggle with the Indian masses, Satyagrahis, and the British government, no one else could do. He was a prolific writer. Whenever he got time, he used to write the letters. So through the communication skills, Gandhi was able to manage the issue of distortion of information. हमेशा होता है ना कि इंफॉर्मेशन डिस्टॉर्ट हो जाती है, गलत इंफॉर्मेशन आपके पास पहुंचने लगती हैं. So by communicating with the people, with the Satyagrahi and the British government, Gandhi was able to do away with this distortion of information. And that helped Gandhi to control the movement, control the mass movement. Second was, Gandhi always prepared second and the third line of leadership. Second and the third line of leadership. Okay. It is often seen in any movement when police arrest the top leadership, the movement goes berserk. It goes, without direction. There is no one to lead the movement. So it was obvious that whenever, such movement will start, the British police will arrest Gandhi, and it will arrest the other top leaders of the Congress party. Okay. So for that, Gandhi had very clear-cut instruction that if I am arrested, such and such person will lead the movement. and everyone will listen to that person. Even at the regional and the district level, there was the second and the third line of leadership ready to take over the movement, to take over that Satyagraha when their, top leaders are arrested. And this, second and the third line of leadership, which Gandhi had in his aandolan, his movements were not, allowed to go out of the control. Gandhi was able to keep the movements on track always because his movements never went out of the leadership. The leadership, the second and the third line of leadership was always there, and he prepared, such leadership. Now, the third is that Gandhi always avoided ad persona conflict. That is the personal conflict. Gandhi will never resort to a personal conflict with any of the opponent. Any of the opponent. And because of this lack of because of the absence of the ad persona conflict, no one took the movement personally. Neither Gandhi took the movements personally, nor the British police or the British government took the movement personally. Okay, just give me 1 minute. I'm coming back. तो ये एक स्ट्रैटेजी थी जिससे गांधी अपने जो आंदोलन थे उनको नियंत्रित रख सकते थे। एक जो तीसरी चीज थी इम्पोर्टेंट, चौथी चीज जो इम्पोर्टेंट थी वो थी गांधी कभी कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को साइक्लिकल नहीं मानते थे। चक्रीय संघर्ष में उनका विश्वास नहीं था। वो डायलेक्टिकल या द्वंदात्मक प्रोग्रेशन ऑफ द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की बात करते थे कि जो संघर्ष है वो द्वंदात्मक तरह से आगे बढ़ता है और दोनों तरफ से जो ट्रुथ्स हैं, दोनों तरफ के जो ट्रुथ्स हैं, सत्य है, वो मिलकर के एक नए सत्य को जन्म देता है, एक उच्च कोटि के सत्य को जन्म देता है। और ये जो उच्च कोटि का सत्य है, इस सत्य से दोनों पार्टीज को फायदा होता है। तो साइक्लिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में जो म्यूचुअल इन्फोर्समेंट होता है, यानी जब आप एक दूसरे को हिट करते हैं तो उससे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हमेशा बढ़ता है, उससे स्पाइरलिंग ऑफ द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट फेनोमेना आ जाता है साइक्लिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट में। जैसे आप आर्म्स रेस देखते हैं ना, शस्त्रों की होड़ देखते हैं कि अगर एक ने एक 500 किलोमीटर की मिसाइल बनाई तो दूसरा एनिमी जो कंट्री है, एडवर्सरी है उसका, वो कहेगा कि हम 1000 किलोमीटर की मिसाइल बनाएंगे, रेंज की मिसाइल बनाएंगे। ठीक है, तो ये क्या है? ये साइक्लिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट है। यहाँ म्यूचुअल रीइंफोर्समेंट हो रहा है कि अगर एक ने 500 किलोमीटर रेंज की मिसाइल बनाई तो दूसरा कहेगा कि हम 1000 किलोमीटर रेंज की मिसाइल बनाएंगे, है ना। तो गांधी इस तरह के कॉन्फ्लिक्ट के पक्ष में नहीं थे। गांधी का जो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट था वो डायलेक्टिकल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट था कि दोनों पार्टीज के जो ट्रुथ हैं उसको लेकर के एक नए ट्रुथ तक पहुंचा जाएगा, एक उच्च सत्य तक पहुंचा जाएगा, जिससे कि दोनों पार्टीज को फायदा होगा, दोनों पार्टीज को लाभ होगा। ठीक है, तो ये कुछ तरीके थे जिससे गांधी अपने कॉन्फ्लिक्ट को, अपने मूवमेंट को नियंत्रित कर पाते थे, अपने कंट्रोल में रख पाते थे। ठीक है, अब एक और चीज है जो सवाल अक्सर उठता है कि गांधी का जो नॉन वायलेंस पे इम्फेसिस था, है ना, ठीक है, ट्रुथ इज समथिंग विच इज एब्स्ट्रैक्ट, लेकिन जब आप नॉन वायलेंस की बात करते हैं तो दैट इज समथिंग विच इज सीन, विच इज ऑलवेज प्रेजेंट बिफोर यू. अगर कोई नॉन वायलेंट एक्ट करता है तो वो आपके सामने आ जाता है, चाहे वो अपने वचन से करे, अपने कर्म से करे. अगर मन से कर रहा है तो वो शायद नहीं आएगा आपके सामने, लेकिन अदरवाइज ये एब्स्ट्रैक्ट फॉर्म में नहीं है. तो गांधी जब नॉन वायलेंस की बात करते हैं, है ना, गांधी का जो एडहेरेंस है नॉन वायलेंस पे, ये जो एडहेरेंस है नॉन वायलेंस पर, इसका आधार क्या है? व्हाट इज द बेसिस ऑफ दिस कमिटमेंट टू नॉन वायलेंस? क्या इसका बेसिस डिओंटोलॉजिकल या फिलोसॉफिकल है, या इसका बेसिस टेलियोलॉजिकल है? टेलियोलॉजिकल मीन्स जब आप उसके परिणाम से किसी चीज को सही या गलत बताते हैं, है ना. तो और इसमें एक और जो बात जुड़ जाती है वो ये है कि गांधी ने स्वयं 4 बार युद्ध में हिस्सा लिया, है ना, जुलू रिबेलियन, बोयर वॉर और फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर में, है ना. तो अगर गांधी was so much against, I mean, if he was totally committed to non-violence, then why he himself participated in different capacities in these conflicts like the Zulu rebellion and the Boer War or the First World War? So what was, गांधी अहिंसा को इसलिए अपनाना चाहते थे, अपना रहे थे, क्योंकि अहिंसा का परिणाम बुरा होता है, खराब होता है, या गांधी इसलिए अहिंसा को अपना रहे थे कि फिलोसॉफिकली वो सही है, डिओंटोलॉजिकली वो सही है? तो ये एक बड़ा प्रश्न था जिसपे कॉन्फ्लिक्ट रिजोल्यूशन और पीस के जो अध्येता थे, जो स्कॉलर्स थे, उन्होंने इसको प्रयास करने का कोशिश किया. बहुत सारे लोगों ने इस पे अपनी बातें कही हैं, बट वट एवर द रीजन इज, whether Gandhi was because of the deontological things, deontological reasons, he was following non-violence, or because of the teleological reasons he was following the non-violence. That is a different thing. But his commitment to non-violence was perfect. It was complete. So emphasis should be on this thing, that his commitment to non-violence was absolutely perfect and absolutely complete. He never deviated from the non-violence. And that is why if you look at Gandhian nationalism, Gandhi was against the excessive nationalism, and his nationalism was in a way connected to internationalism. If you study Romeo Rolla and such people, they regard Gandhi as an internationalist. If you read Gandhi's ideas, he was, often he's regarded as someone who is anarchical, who will not accept authority or the power of the state. He was against the boundaries. He was against keeping the army, because all these things will lead to, at one point of time, violence. Okay. So Gandhi's commitment to non-violence was complete. It was not occasional, it was at the ideological level. And that is why you regard Gandhi, or the world regard Gandhi, as apostle of peace, or someone who valued peace too much. And even the United Nations, International Peace Day, his birthday, this 2nd October, has been fixed. तो ये सारी चीजें थी जो मैं आपसे डिस्कस करना किया मैंने करीब मुझे लगता है 1 घंटे तक आपसे बात कर लिया. अब आपके जो भी विचार हैं, जो भी प्रश्न हैं, वो हम लोग 12 बजे तक डिस्कस कर सकते हैं. 12 बजे मेरा एक और मीटिंग है, तो मुझे उसमें जाना है. तो आधे घंटे हम लोग और बात कर सकते हैं. अभी कुछ बातें और हैं, जब आपसे बातचीत होगी तो मैं आपको बताऊंगा. बट मुझे जस्ट एक आधे मिनट का ब्रेक दीजिए. Now you can.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I want to ask one question. Sir,
कोई एक मॉडरेट कर ले ताकि 1 by 1 आप लोग आए और कोई कंफ्यूजन ना हो किसी को. हाँ, चलिए शुरू करिए.
Sir, I'm Tripuresh Pathak.
हाँ.
Sir, I wanted to ask, was Gandhi's decision of taking back non-cooperation movement after the Chauri Chora incident, was that decision practical or was it too much idealistic, sir?
Look, Gandhi had commitment towards non-violence, and this commitment was, as I told you, complete. And he regarded for his satyagraha this non-violence as an essential virtue. Okay. And when he saw that satyagrahis have not learned the lesson of non-violence, and the police station has been burnt and several policemen have been killed there, then he thought it better to take back, because otherwise, the whole principle of satyagraha, whole ideology of satyagraha will stand compromised.
Okay, sir. One question I would like to ask, sir. Sir, exist any difference between passive resistance, Gandhian passive resistance, and satyagraha, or both connotes the same meaning?
Look, passive resistance was a thing which Gandhi rejected. When he was in Africa, he wanted to coin. I mean, the term satyagraha came from he gave a notice in the newspaper that satyagrahis are those who follow him. Come out with a particular term for this entire exercise or this entire movement. So several things came, and one of the option was the passive resistance, which Gandhi rejected, because for him satyagraha was far more than the passive resistance, because satyagrahis were actively taking part in the movement in a way that they were non-cooperating. There was things like strike or boycott or Swadeshi or civil disobedience and the Quit India kind of things. The parallel governments were also run. So there is, the satyagraha is way ahead of passive resistance. Satyagraha and passive resistance are not the similar things, cannot be the similar things.
Okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm Irfanul Haq. Sir, I just want to have an observation from your lecture that, as you rightly explained, the Gandhi's concept of the satyagraha, and I think the concept of satyagraha is based on the principle of self-sufferings. As you told that it is not everybody's cup of tea to be the true satyagrahi. Sir, I just want to know from your good self about this concept of non-violence, ahimsa. Unfortunately, we know that the preacher of ahimsa himself became the victim of the violence. How do you look at the concept of ahimsa propounded by the Gandhi is relevant in today's international system?
Look, if you want to, what Gandhi was telling was true to the Indian context that existed at that point of time, and the influence on him of the Hindu religious text or the Jainis or the Buddhist religious text, and also of the Bible to some extent. Hijrat, one of the way of doing satyagraha was taken from Islam. So the things that those, the socio-political milieu or the cultural milieu that was existing at that point of time had effect on Gandhi. And following that, he made his, understanding, made his mind, and made his strategies. So if you apply, such strategies now, like a stepwise diagnostic strategy or, such kind of things, you may not get the result. But if you see the broader values which Gandhi laid down, such as truth, such as non-violence, you will find yourself in a good position. For example, after every war, you see the peace coming in, or people striving for the peace, and people understanding that war did not give them much, the violence did not give them much. They always desire for the peace by one or the other way. So those broader values which Gandhi professed are still relevant, that all of us, look for the peace, look for the peace of mind, and in our inner self. We try to do good things. We try to speak truth. I mean, speaking truth does not always mean that you are telling the fact, but imbibing that, concept from inside, that you are honest. You are honest to your profession. You switch off the camera and just went away from this meeting, and after a couple of minutes, you join back the meeting. So that is not honesty. Okay. So if you are honestly listening to, lecture or doing your job, doing your duties, it will yield good result for yourself as well as for the society, your students, your nation. So that is the, the broad values Gandhi laid down are still equally relevant. You cannot, follow it when he says that there should not be any army. Please mute your mic. Please mute your mic. अपना माइक म्यूट कर दीजिए, डिस्टर्ब हो रहा है. कांतेश कुमार, प्लीज म्यूट योर माइक. हाँ
आ रहे हैं.
हाँ, नेक्स्ट चलिए, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन.
Sir, I have one question, sir. That we are seeing during non-cooperation movement, Gandhi was a stern supporter of non-violence. But when we see Quit India movement, he reluctantly permits violence.
No, he does not permit violence, but
he kept mum over violent activities.
He kept mum over, some of the stone pelting kind of events or that, because if you read many writings on, please mute the mic. Sachin, please mute your mic.
माइक म्यूट.
आप लोग अपना माइक म्यूट कर लीजिए, ठीक है. So there were many reports that were, those were reaching to Gandhi, that these stone pelting people, the pelters, are not actually satyagrahis, but they are the commoners who, out of the enthusiasm, out of the excitement, have joined the movement, and out of the excitement, they are doing, this kind of activity. So he was, at that point of time, knowing this, that they are not the actual satyagrahis, he did not, spoke on that. Or there could be, another point that because of the criticism he faced during the non-cooperation movement, when the movement was at the ripe, it has spiked up, and then he withdrew the movement. There was many criticism from the Congress within the Congress party, like I told you about. Subhash Chandra Bose criticized Gandhi a lot on this. So he might be also fearing, or might be trying to give a blind eye to these fringe events, because it's better to call such as stone pelting or chasing the British police personals there at the site of the aandolan or the movement. He ignored those, or gave a blind eye to such fringe, I would say fringe or the remote incidents.
Thank you, sir.
May I ask you a question, sir?
Yeah.
So my name is Ejaz, sir. So I just wanted to ask that you talked about Gandhi's concept of conflict as a dialectical concept rather than a cyclical concept. So my query is that if Gandhi's concept of conflict was dialectical, and he believed in a kind of synthesis whereby he wanted to reach the ultimate truth, then I don't understand that why, particularly in India, communists like Nambudri Pad and M.N. Roy, they used to criticize Gandhi, particularly on the basis that he represents a particular class, that is the capitalist class. So while we know that Marxist or the Hegelian concept of synthesis there, they also believe in dialectical concept. So I don't find a kind of a correlation there. So how come these communists used to criticize Gandhi, while if according to you, Gandhi believed in a dialectical concept of conflict? So that's my query, sir. Thank you.
There are many people questioned Gandhi, who criticized Gandhi. I was delivering a lecture at Miami University in Florida, and someone raised that Gandhi spoke against. Gandhi was a racist. He spoke against the black people, the Negroes. Now they don't use the word Negro. The black people, and Gandhi was a racist. So I quoted this famous comment of Martin Luther King Jr., who said that God gave me the message, Jesus gave me the message, and Gandhi gave me the method of nonviolence. So when people like Martin Luther King, who fought against the racism, fought for the rights of the blacks in America, can say that Gandhi gave me the method, so how can Gandhi be called a racist? Okay. Now, when I say that dialectical method, so dialectical method is not confined to the communists only. Dialectical is a method. It's not that the you say dialectical, that it always it symbolizes Marxism. No, it's not. Dialectical method means that the truth from both the sides, the good things of both the sides, and finally reaching to the higher good or higher truth. Okay, it has nothing to do with Marxism. It is nothing to do with Marxism. And in इंडियन डिस्प्यूटेशन सिस्टम, भारत में जो प्राचीन काल में शास्त्रार्थ होते थे, उसमें भी यही डायलेक्टिकल मेथड होता था, है ना. ट्रुथ फ्रॉम ऑल साइड्स और ट्रुथ फ्रॉम टू साइड्स will make the higher level of truth. There is nothing like that it symbolizes Marxism, or it was following Hegel's dialectics, or such kind of things. The Indian dialectical methods predate Hegelian or the Marxist dialectical method.
Thank you.
Sir, Sir, when we study about the literature of Gandhi, one thing we are finding that he was very vocal against caste system. But whenever the question of women crop up, he was not so much revolutionary about it.
Question of what you said?
Women right, he was not so much revolutionary. He didn't permit co-education. He was in favor of keeping women in home affairs, engaging in home affairs. He was not giving them so much liberty as perceived by other scholars.
I like, the whole, if you read the Indian texts, and if you read the Hindu Dharma Shastras, you will not find that the women were, subsided or they were discriminated in the ancient India. So, अब जरा अपना माइक म्यूट कर दें. तो ये जो एस्पेक्ट है, ये गांधी में कम दिखाई देता है. ये सही बात है कि गांधी जेंडर इक्वालिटी पर बोलते हुए कमी दिखाई देते हैं, लेकिन टाइम टू टाइम अगर आप उनके आश्रम में भी देखें या उन्होंने जिन कांग्रेस के लोगों को सपोर्ट किया, उसमें बहुत सारी महिलाएं भी थी जिनको गांधी जी ने हमेशा आगे बढ़ाया. और अपने लिए भी वो कहते थे कि सत्याग्रह का पहला लेसन था वो मैंने अपनी स्पाउस से सीखा. उनकी माँ का उनके ऊपर बहुत इन्फ्लुएंस था, बहुत प्रभाव था. तो ऐसा नहीं है, बट हाँ ये ठीक है कि गांधी उतना वोकल नहीं थे वुमेन इश्यूज को लेकर के, या एक जेंडर एक कंस्ट्रक्ट है, सोशल कंस्ट्रक्ट है, इस विषय पे शायद गांधी को उतना सोचने का समय नहीं मिला होगा, बिकॉज ही वाज टू मच इन्वॉल्व्ड फाइटिंग द ब्रिटिश और doing away the colonialism and the caste system in India.
और कोई सवाल किसी का? रजिस्ट्रेशन नंबर यही है.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Dr. Manish Chaudhary speaking.
बोलिए Manish.
Sir, first of all, I feel very gladful to talk to you. आप मेरे एक एग्जामिनर रहे थे मेरे रिसर्च में, पीएचडी रिसर्च में डीएवीवी के अंतर्गत. तो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है सर, आपका आशीर्वाद मिल रहा है. सर एक बात ये थी कि गांधी जी अहिंसा को महत्व देते थे, पर फर्स्ट और सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर में जो भारतीय सेना थी वो ब्रिटिश इंडियन जो है सेना के रूप में फर्स्ट और सेकेंड वर्ल्ड वॉर में शामिल हुई थी, उसका गांधी जी ने समर्थन किया था. इस चीज को थोड़ा सा एलिब्रेट करने का कष्ट करेंगे सर.
हाँ, ये तो मैंने आपसे पहले ही डिस्कस किया कि 4 ओकेजन्स ऐसे थे जिसमें गांधी ने सीधे जो है वॉर में पार्टिसिपेट किया, सीधे वायलेंस में या वॉर में पार्टिसिपेट किया. हालांकि डिफरेंट कैपेसिटी में किया. जो जुलू और बोयर वॉर था उसमें उनका जो रोल था बहुत अलग तरह का था. तो ये सच है कि गांधी ने 4 बार इसमें पार्टिसिपेट किया, और यहीं से ये प्रूफ होता है कि गांधी जो है वो जो टेलीलॉजिकल एस्पेक्ट था नॉन वायलेंस का, उसको भी काफी महत्व देते थे कि कहाँ पर वायलेंस बुरी है और कहाँ पे वायलेंस उतनी बुरी नहीं है, क्योंकि उसका अंत जो है, उसका जो परिणाम है वो क्या है, कैसे है.
मतलब सर कुल मिला के ये है कि आवश्यकता अनुसार निर्णय लिया जाए.
नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. देखिए, सब्सटेंशियली जब वो ब्रिटिश के अगेंस्ट फाइट कर रहे थे
जी,
जब वो ब्रिटिश के अगेंस्ट फाइट कर रहे थे, तो उन्होंने खुद और अपने सत्याग्रही दोनों के इसको यही कहा कि आपको नॉन वायलेंट रहना है ना.
जी,
अगर जो आप बात कह रहे हैं अगर ऐसा होता तो फिर वो ये कह रहे थे कि हाँ ठीक है, जहाँ आपको मिले अंग्रेज वहां मारिए आप उनको, है ना. ऐसा तो उन्होंने कभी नहीं कहा. बट हाँ ठीक है, रिलेशंस हो सकते हैं. गांधी ने खुद कभी नहीं कहा कि मैं कोई फिलोसोफर हूँ या पॉलिटिकल फिलोसोफर हूँ या पॉलिटिकल थिंकर हूँ. या गांधीज्म जैसी कोई चीज है, ऐसा उन्होंने कभी नहीं कहा। ऐसे तो बाद में लोगों ने गांधीज्म को एक्सेप्ट किया और गांधीज्म को गांधी को एक थिंकर के रूप में माना, एक्सेप्ट किया। तो एवरेशंस थे, वो 4 एवरेशंस थे, बट बाई एंड लार्ज उन्होंने वायलेंस को प्रमोट कभी नहीं किया, एंड ही ऑलवेज वाज अगेंस्ट द वायलेंस। अपना माइक।
थैंक यू सर।
कोई और कोई क्वेरी हो किसी की तो प्लीज। लड़कियों का अलग सर, मुझे लगता है सभी लोगों की जिज्ञासा है शांत कि गांधी के बारे में आपने जो अभी बताया, क्योंकि गांधी आपने जिया है, क्योंकि हम लोग तो महसूस करते हैं कि आपसे मेरी व्यक्तिगत भी मेरी बातचीत होती रहती है, और विश्वविद्यालय में जैसा आपका स्वभाव है, गांधी के जो विचार है उसके विचार, उनके विचार और दोनों का कार्य करने का तरीका, दोनों का जो तालमेल है वो आपके अंदर हमको महसूस करते हैं, वो दिखाई पड़ता है। क्योंकि जैसे समय का था कि 10:30 बजे, जो समय का आपका था 10:26 से आप जुड़ गए हम लोगों के साथ, और ये हम लोग सीखने को मिलता है। और गांधी के सत्याग्रह में जितने भी आयाम, जितने भी पहलू, और जिस तरह प्रथम विश्व युद्ध, द्वितीय विश्व युद्ध के लोगों ने बातें की, उन सभी पहलुओं को आपने बेहतर तरीके से, और किस परिस्थितियों में क्या निर्णय लिया जाना चाहिए और किस संदर्भ में क्या सही और क्या उचित है, ये गांधी के दर्शन को अपने इस तरह हम लोग जो बताया, ये हम सभी लोग के लिए लाभान्वित हुआ। और मैं समझ सकता हूँ कि अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संबंध आपका विषय है, लेकिन उतना ही अच्छा जो अपने गांधी का जो अपना एक एक्सप्लेनेशन आपका है, क्योंकि पिछली बार रिफ्रेशर कोर्स में मैंने गांधी आपसे सुना था, और पिछली बार मुझे लगता है कि पर्यावरण पे कुछ गांधी को लेके आपने मुझे दिया था, डिबेट आपका लेक्चर था, और आज गांधी का जो सत्याग्रह के साथ ये लेक्चर, पूरा एक जो हिस्टोरिकल बैकग्राउंड जो पूरा आपने मुझे बताया, और ये वाकई में बहुत ही हम लोगों के लिए ज्ञानवर्धक, और हमारे क्या 14 राज्यों से जुड़े हुए इस रिफ्रेशर प्रोग्राम में सभी लोगों के लिए लाभान्वित का ये सेशन रहा। और मैं चाहूंगा कि आज के जो धन्यवाद ज्ञापन, जो औपचारिक धन्यवाद ज्ञापन के लिए मैं मनीष चौधरी, जो आपके जो स्टूडेंट रहे और आप उनके मेंटर थे पीएचडी के, तो मैं चाहूंगा कि वो धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें, क्योंकि हमें मौका मिला है आपको सम्मान देने का। तो मैं चाहूंगा कि मनीष चौधरी जी धन्यवाद ज्ञापन करें सरकार। मनीष जी, आप सुन पा रहे?
धन्यवाद सर। जी सर, धन्यवाद सर। मैं डॉक्टर संजू श्रीवास्तव सर, जो कि हमारे बीच बनारस हिंदू विश्वविद्यालय से हमें मार्गदर्शन देने के लिए जुड़े हैं, मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहूँगा। जैसा कि अभी बताया गया कि गांधी जी ने अपने जो विचार हैं, उन्हें किस हद तक विचारधारा के स्तर पर ले जाने का प्रयास किया। हालांकि वो स्वयं अपने आप को कोई विचारधारात्मक या दार्शनिक नहीं बताते थे, किंतु फिर भी उन्होंने अपने जो विचार दिए हैं, वे किस हद तक समाज को स्वनियंत्रित करने के लिए और प्रेरित करने के लिए महत्वपूर्ण सिद्ध होते हैं, ये अति महत्वपूर्ण है। हम देखते हैं कि समय समय पर समाज में कई सारे ऐसे आंदोलन होते हैं जो स्वप्रेरित होते हैं पर नियंत्रित नहीं रह पाते हैं। वे सभी आंदोलन गांधी जी के सत्याग्रह से प्रेरणा लेते हुए भले ही दिखाई दें, पर कहीं से कहीं तक वे उस सत्याग्रह से कोसों दूर रह जाते हैं। जैसे निर्भया केस के बाद में जो विद्यार्थियों का आंदोलन हुआ था, या अन्ना हजारे का आंदोलन हुआ था, या मेधा पाटकर जी का नर्मदा बचाओ आंदोलन था। ये कहने में तो सभी सत्याग्रह के रूप में शुरू हुए होते हैं, पर अहिंसा का जो मोटो मेन गांधी जी का था, मन कर्म और वचन से, उसका पालन पूरी तरह से नहीं कर पाते हैं। तो मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगा डॉक्टर संजू श्रीवास्तव साहब का, कि आपका आशीर्वाद हमें प्राप्त हुआ हम सभी को, और हम आगे भी चाहेंगे कि आपका मार्गदर्शन हमें सतत मिलता रहे, कि हम अपने कार्यों को और अच्छी तरह से पूर्ण कर सकें। ऐसा हमारा आशय है। धन्यवाद।
ठीक है, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सर। प्रणाम सर।